The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden hue over the quiet suburban neighborhood. Birds chirped in the distance, and the faint hum of early morning traffic could be heard from the main road. It was a peaceful start to the day, but that peace was about to be shattered. In a small house on the corner of Maple Street, a family of 4 was still asleep. The father, John, was a mechanic, known for his ability to fix anything with an engine. His wife, Sarah, was a nurse who worked the night shift at the local hospital. Their 2 children, Emily and Michael, were typical kids, energetic, curious, and always getting into some kind of mischief. But the real star of the household was Max, their loyal golden retriever. Max was more than just a pet. He was a member of the family. He had been with them for years, through thick and thin, and had a knack for sensing when something was wrong. That morning, Max was restless. He had been pacing the house since dawn, whining softly, as if trying to tell his family something important. John was the first to wake up, groaning as he stretched and rubbed the sleep from his eyes. He glanced at the clock on the nightstand, 6:15 a.m. He had a long day ahead of him at the garage, but something about Max's behavior made him pause. The dog was sitting at the foot of the bed, staring at him with wide, anxious eyes. "What's wrong, buddy?" John asked, reaching out to scratch Max behind the ears. But Max didn't respond with his usual wagging tail. Instead, he let out a low whine and trotted out of the room, stopping at the top of the stairs to look back at John. John frowned. "All right, I'm coming," he muttered, pulling on a robe and following the dog downstairs. Max led him to the front door, where he began pawing at the wood and barking insistently. "What's gotten into you?" John asked, opening the door. Max darted outside, running down the driveway and stopping at the edge of the street. He turned back, barking again, as if urging John to follow. John hesitated. It was unusual for Max to act this way, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He grabbed his keys and stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "All right, Max, let's see what's got you so worked up." Max took off down the street with John following at a jog. The dog led him past several houses, turning onto a side road that led to a small park. As they approached the park, John noticed something strange. A faint, acrid smell in the air. It was subtle at first, but as they got closer, it grew stronger. Max stopped at the edge of the park, barking furiously at something in the distance. John squinted, trying to make out what the dog was so agitated about. Then he saw it. A thin plume of smoke rising from the trees. "Oh no," John muttered, breaking into a run. He followed the smoke to its source, his heart pounding in his chest. As he reached the edge of the trees, he saw it. A small shed, engulfed in flames. The fire was spreading quickly, fueled by the dry wood and the morning breeze. John's mind raced. He didn't have his phone with him, and the nearest house was several blocks away. He needed to get help, and fast. He turned to Max, who was still barking at the fire. "Max, go home. Go get Sarah." Max hesitated for a moment, then took off running back toward the house. John watched him go, hoping the dog understood what he needed to do. He turned back to the fire, trying to think of a way to contain it until help arrived. Meanwhile, Max was sprinting down the street, his paws pounding against the pavement. He reached the house in record time, barking and scratching at the door until Sarah finally opened it. "Max, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, her voice tinged with concern. Max barked again, then turned and ran back down the street, stopping to look back at her. Sarah didn't need any more convincing. She grabbed her phone and followed the dog, calling 911 as she ran. "There's a fire in the park near Maple Street. Please send someone quickly." By the time Sarah reached the park, the fire had grown larger, and John was doing his best to keep it from spreading. He had found a garden hose in a nearby yard and was spraying water on the flames. But it was a losing battle. The fire was too big, and the hose was no match for it. "John," Sarah shouted, running to his side. "The fire department is on its way." "Thank God," John said, his voice strained. "We need to keep it from spreading until they get here." Together, they worked to contain the fire, using whatever they could find, buckets of water, dirt, even branches to beat back the flames. But it was clear that they were outmatched. The fire was growing too fast, and they were running out of time. Just as they were about to give up hope, they heard the sound of sirens in the distance. Moments later, fire trucks arrived on the scene, followed by police cars and an ambulance. The firefighters quickly